Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hey guys, did you know QPR stands for QPR Pummeled by Ruffels? Yeah, that's right. Welcome to the warm-up, episode 90. I'm your host, Brady Frost, and to preview the game against the Swans, I'm joined by Tom Bradshaw and the second tier's Justin Peach. Tom, can you believe it? We've actually won a game. We can talk about a game that Huddersfield have won.
Well, do you know, I've just realised, Brady, I mean, how long is it since we've won, it feels? And we didn't do a preview, so maybe we're a bad omen.
Maybe. Although we did do a little Twitter thread of our previous one.
Stop this right now and call it a day.
Fair. Well, I feel like we'd be, after getting Justin Peach on, it'd be a shame to end it. Justin, how are you?
Yeah, very good, thanks. I feel like I had some part in playing, some part in this win, because I said at the weekend on the podcast, on the Second Tier podcast, that I couldn't see where Huddersfield were next going to score or even win. So to the town of Huddersfield, you are welcome.
And we will take it. We will take anything. You do mention that though, Justin. I saw you. You and Ryan were saying it's Huddersfield looking likely for relegation on your pod. Well, I bet an unexpected win against a QPR team who hadn't scored in 3 games. But you feel like a right mug now, don't you?
Oh, always. I'm happy to be surprised by Mark Fotheringham. Still yet to score more than one goal from open play though. But we'll leave that one until a bit further down the line.
We can take the mick, but we can give taking the mick, but we clearly can't take it. So it's still a little bit raw because we are bottom of the league. Justin, before I kind of get into the preview for the Swansea game, I ask everyone who's not been on since Fotheringham has been appointed. He's got 10 games in charge now. What have you kind of made of him so far from a neutral?
Talks a lot, and I don't know if he says much, if that makes sense. Yeah, he talks a big game. He doesn't really say a lot. And he almost repeats himself quite often. It's got a bit exhausting with the whole, we're still creating chances and whatnot. We should be more clinical. Don't necessarily buy into it. This is completely unbiased and neutral point of view. I just don't think Huddersfield are creating enough chances under Mark Fotheringham, which is a major, major worry. I do think defensively they have tightened up. And they are aggressive. They are looking a lot better transitionally in presses, but they just don't have a cutting edge at the moment. But I don't know whether that's because that's perhaps a little bit more symptomatic from the Colbrand era, because they had a couple of issues under Colbrand with the same thing, possibly bailed out by set pieces. But not overly convinced. But I do think he has done some good work. Certainly a massive step up from Schofield.
Yeah. Agreed. Although I will say with Schofield, as much as he was a great player for Town, the bar of him being manager is a very low bar. But beggars can't be choosers at this point. Which leads us on nicely to the game on Saturday. So we are playing Swansea following that midweek win at QPR. Swansea were also in action this week. They drew 2-2 against Birmingham City. Tom, has that win in London, has it given you some hope for survival? Because fans were saying, "Oh, we'll be cut adrift if we lose this." You win, and then suddenly, if we win on Saturday, we're right back in the mix to get out of the bottom 3.
Yeah, I think I've been saying it a lot now that this league is so tight, and it's annoyed me a bit how we've kind of looked like the only team who's not been kind of picking points up in the last few weeks, but we're still close. Yeah, so I mean, even if we won this last game, we're not going to get out of that bottom 3 going into the World Cup break, but you still only, last time I looked, Brady, what are we about? If we say we win Saturday, then you could potentially be only a point, 3 points off Hull, who are in 19th. So it's just crazy tight, isn't it? Still got that game in hand against Coventry as well, who seem to have turned it around. I mean, I think that's what you've got to look at as well, is the run that Coventry were on, and look where they are now. They're up into 12th. So I think there's positives there. You get a nice break now where he can really drill home any ideas that he has. And like Justin says, I think one thing that Town need to work on is just trying to be a bit more creative in open play and picking up a few more goals from that.
Yeah, I suppose it helps if you can have Josh Ruffels doing overhead kicks. Do that every week, Josh. Justin, do you think the Terriers can build on the win against QPR? I mean, what did you make of it? I know a lot of QPR fans were saying, "Oh, we had so many shots," but I know Nichols had to make a few good saves. But it was, from the biased fan perspective, I thought this was one of Fotheringham's better performances as managing the team.
Yeah, I think despite QPR having 36 shots, I think they broke Leeds' championship record for the amount of shots in the game. They only had 6 on target, so it wasn't like they were having really good chances. I think Huddersfield blocked 16 of those shots. You can tell I've been doing my notes for the podcast this week. You could see, Huddersfield blocked quite a few. So I think that tells you that they were quite organised and they took the chances when they could, which is what you need in an away performance. So as I say, I think QPR had a lot of shots without actually creating too many clear-cut chances. And I think that's been the main thing under Fotheringham. He's not been on the other end of any hammerings. They've been tight games. It's been 1-0, 2-1. Sunderland game was a 2-0 loss, but I think it was Diallo scored in the 90th minute on a breakaway. So there are tight games, which means it is a fine margin. And if they can get a run together, doing it the same way Coventry did, i.e. keeping clean sheets, making sure games are tight, limiting opposition is the way to do it. The only big difference is Coventry have someone like Victor Gyökeres who can change games. Callum O'Hare, Gus Hamer, don't really know where the game change is coming from a Huddersfield perspective, but it's a massive, massive result and certainly something to build on. I think Swansea, it's a good time to play Swansea, I think.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I know I keep peppering you with questions, but you know more about Swansea than Tom and I do. What can we kind of expect on Saturday? Because obviously they drew away in midweek as well.
You can expect not having the ball. There'll be a lot of possession play from Swansea. I don't think they have been as good this season as they have been in at certain points last season, which is quite saying something because they are on the edge of the playoffs. But as you guys have mentioned already, it's a very tight league. But I think recently they've been conceding goals. They conceded 2 to Wigan from set pieces, which should give Fotheringham a little bit of inclination as to how to get the better of Swansea. And I think if you do sit in a low block and make it really difficult against a Russell Martin team, they will find it tricky because they don't have an operator like Jamie Patterson who can operate in tight spaces, change games. They are relying heavily on sort of playing the ball into spaces. Matt Grimes, Ollie Cooper have been very good at that with Obafemi. So yeah, it'll be a tight game again, obviously. But as I say, I think it's a really good time to play Swansea because they've been conceding goals. They haven't been in the best form. They haven't won in the last 4. So yeah, it's a really good chance, I think, for Huddersfield to build upon that win against QPR.
Sounds good. I look forward to the inevitable defeat that will happen then. Tom, Swansea, Justin said quite rightly, they're going to have a lot of the ball. Who did you pick as a key man? Are they key to keeping the ball from us?
So I've not really seen him play that much. Of the highlights I've seen and stuff, I've quite liked the look of that Ryan Manning, who plays left back, or kind of left wing back, because they seem to be, correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, but playing a bit of like kind of 2-5-2, with those kind of full backs coming up and down, and he's played most games I think this season and about 3 assists. So he seems like quite a good creative little player, but sounds up for it as well in his recent presses and stuff. Trying to get them because I think they know that they're in a bit of a dip at the moment, and from when I was having a look earlier, he was trying to get them going for this game last night, and they couldn't really get that win, could they? What was it, 2-2? Who did they play again?
Birmingham.
Yeah, Birmingham, who are actually playing quite well this season, which is quite a shock when I look at my predictions at the start of the year.
Yeah, who picked him for 24th? Oh, I think I did that as well. But what do we know? Clearly, so you're right, Tom. We should end this podcast. But Justin, what about you? Who do you pick as the key man for Swansea?
Yeah, I've already mentioned Matt Grimes. He's the player who's going to dictate the play. He's everything that Swansea do that's good always comes through him. Although they do have the wing backs, they rely very very much so on dominating central areas with possession, without possession, and Matt Grimes is very good at that. He's taken on a bit more of a box-to-box role this season, rather than sort of the anchor role that he's been used to playing, which has been a bit of a breath of fresh air, I think, for him, because he's such an incisive passer. He could break lines of his passing. So if you've got someone like Obafemi running off the shoulder of defenders, he's certainly got a lot of targets to aim for in that sense. So yeah, Matt Grimes for me, as I say, a lot of good things pass through him, and if Huddersfield can dominate the midfield area, I do fancy them to win, but it's a big if.
And because I love an opportunity to plug anything I do, I'm going to go for Justin will know, because I wrote an article for the second tier, which was the England squad, which is due to be, as this probably goes out, it will be announced today. So I did a little article, chat to a fan from every championship club about if you could pick one English representative from your club, who would it be? And the Swansea fan obviously doesn't care about England, cared more about Wales, fair enough. But he picked Matt Grimes because, like you said, Justin, he keeps the ball moving, rarely gives it away, and can play those more ambitious passes, scored in midweek as well. If I can't pick him because you've already got him, I would probably go for Obafemi, who you touched on as well, just because I think he's a striker I've always liked, one that Town could have looked at. But Tom, how many times when we do this segment do we say, oh, it'd be good if Huddersfield would play like that?
Yeah, but what are we going to do, Brady? Buy the club.
Yeah, mate. Let's do a GoFundMe. Well, if Town fans donated to my Great North Run, so if there's the same level of energy, we could do it, mate. But we'll see. Anyway, Tom, we'll stop talking about me, even though it's my favourite thing, clearly, because you talked to a Swansea fan, didn't you? So what's the situation?
I caught with Steve, the Swansea fan.
We've lost to a pub side. We've literally lost to a pub side.
Hi mate, thanks for joining us on the podcast. So, how's your season going?
So how is Swansea doing this season? A little bit hit and miss, a poor start and then a good run, and now we've had a bit of a wobble, no wins in the last 4, gifting some poor goals. We have been better going forward since we had picked up at the start of September, but probably a little bit frustrated given that, like I said, the last 4 games we haven't picked up a win.
Who's a standout player for you so far?
I think my favourite player so far this season has probably been Ryan Manning, our left wing back. He's done very well, offered a big attacking threat. I think he scored about 3 goals as well, so he's done very well. I think some of the better players that we had from last year haven't really hit the heights yet, like Joel Perreault and Jamie Patterson hasn't played a great deal. So I think if those guys can start firing as well, then you'll see an improvement at Swansea.
And what's your score prediction against Town?
Score prediction, I'm not really too sure. Obviously, we need to be targeting this as a win, really. Obviously, Huddersfield haven't had a great start to the season. But I'm going to sit on the fence and say 1-1 draw.
Thank you. Bye.
And that was a brilliant little chat down on Barry Island.
It was a little brilliant chat. So thanks to Steve for chatting to us. Right, let's get a break in and we'll come back and do the mailbag. Okay, we're back. So that means one thing and one thing only. It's time for the mailbag.
You've got mail.
Okay, gents. So quite a few questions. It's amazing what a win does. The questions are a lot more positive. So the first one here is kind of positive, I suppose. HDAFC family, he asks, are we still doomed or is there light at the end of the tunnel? Justin, you're a neutral. So we will go to you first.
Wow. I wouldn't say doomed, but there is a glimmer of hope. But I do think Huddersfield have been the worst team in the division this season, to be really blunt about it. If you look at Coventry when they were bottom of the table, you could sort of give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because of the stadium issues and pitch issues and whatnot. But I think this win should galvanise the team, should galvanise Mark Fotheringham into creating more chances. And I say, I think that's the key thing, is just to be a little bit more threatening going forward. Not even massively threatening, just a little bit more threatening. Because as I said, but apart from set pieces, I don't know where Huddersfield are going to score from. That is the really brilliant answer. So if he can fix that issue, then yeah, absolutely. I think that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. But until then, just can't see it for me.
I think we'd agree with you. You know, I know we like to joke, but Tom and I kind of agreed that we have been the worst team in the division for until recently. You know, performances have been a bit better. I suppose I'd ask you as well, Justin. You know, obviously you're keeping an eye on us every week, but maybe not as much as we are, like agonising over every little detail. But have you been surprised by the drop up from Town? Obviously, playoff final. We don't need to talk about that, but like to where we are now.
Not necessarily. As I say, I think the business in the summer was really underwhelming. I think if you look at the likes of Jack Redoni, I think that was a good signing, but a lot of the signings have been made for 2 or 3 years' time, where these players will probably start to flourish and be really, really massive players for their first team. So I think in that sense, I just think that the squad needed a prop up from last season. I think there was a shortfall in quality at times. As I say, there was a reliance on set pieces. So that told me that there needed to be a little bit of injection of quality. And when you lose players like Lewis O'Brien, okay, maybe not Harry Toffolo, because I think wing backs are relatively easy to replace. I say that with a pinch of salt, but someone like Lewis O'Brien is a massive, massive player. One of the best midfielders, if not the best midfielder in the division last season. Take him out of the team, and it's a big, big hole. So I think based on the business, no, I wasn't particularly pleased with it. I think that sort of set Huddersfield up for a really, really poor season.
Yeah, Fred, I have to agree with you. But Tom, anyway, we'll go back to the question. Do you think we're doomed, or is there light at the end of the tunnel still?
I don't think we're doomed because we're not that far adrift. So there's if they pull the fingers out, it's there for them, isn't it? That's the thing. That's the thing that has annoyed me all season. We're still kind of in touching distance of things, and we're not cut adrift from anything because everyone still seems to be beating everyone. So we're not doomed, but a win on Saturday would be massive. I honestly think if 2 wins just before this break, you're looking at the table completely differently. I don't think it's a must win, but I think the mentality will be a little bit different coming out of the break if, say, we lose on Saturday and maybe other teams pick up a few more points and that gap reappears. But yeah, not doomed, but I don't know. We got to do something. We got to change something, Brady.
Yeah, I agree. I think Saturday is quite a big game. I think because you're absolutely right. We're going to have that break, and you know what it's like. The more time there isn't between games, the more you kind of sweat over every little detail. And look, if we win on Saturday, that would be the first time this season we've got back-to-back wins, and that would feel huge. We've said before. I've got to be honest. I did say I've got a little sneaky feeling we're a bit QPR because, Justin mentioned on the second tier they're due to have a bad phase. And I do think we are due to have a good phase. And I hope it could maybe carry on if we're going to have this break. But it's always been, for me, we just needed to get to this break, have that month on the grass with Fotheringham to implement his ideas more. One of the questions will come onto it, talking about loan players and maybe if we should recall any of them. I think that's a debate to be had, which I think is interesting. But it's a long season. We've still got two thirds of the season to go, and I don't think we are doomed. However, we do need to start getting those wins and getting a little bit of consistency. And I think the January transfer window is massive. I know we've talked previously about Dean Hoyle, taking a back seat, and I do think even if he does want to sell, a championship club, as we've said many times on here, is a more attractive proposition than a League One club. You're going to get more money for it. So Dean's a smart businessman. I know he's a fan as well, but from a pure business perspective, backing us in the January transfer window to give us a chance to stay up. It doesn't have to be millions, it just has to be additions because we've been ravaged by injuries. And I think that's it. There's a lot to be said, but I think getting some of the line players back and getting some additions in January, I think we can make a real fight of it. And that's exactly what you saw against QPR. You saw fight. We saw hanging in. It was a bit of a backs against the wall for the last half an hour, but we hung on, and I think that's a sign of a team if they don't have quality going forward, which we talked about, at least they've got a bit of fight, and it's the hope that kills you. But it's given me hope. So yeah, we will see. But we'll move on because I talked about loan players, and that was our next question from Smarlowell. So he asks, Fotheringham actually made some good tactical changes. We've lived dangerously, but against a better side of Philly would have broken us down. Do we think returning some loan players would get us out of this relegation scrap? Tom, I'll come to you because we did a little tweet about this the other day, actually, and I was surprised to see how many people thought, yes, bring some players back.
I don't think it gets you out of the scrap because those players are on loan for a reason to kind of. I think when they're on loan, they're just. What's the phrasing I'm looking for? It's an environment that's maybe not going to affect Town, but is going to be good for their development. Do you know what I mean? And bringing them back into the fold maybe is putting a bit of pressure on them from a Huddersfield perspective. But I would recall a few just because at the moment we're very light on the numbers with injuries and stuff. And as we've seen with Kamara, you give the young lads too many games in a row, they're more likely to pick up those injuries just because of the body not being maybe ready for that full-fledged men's football yet kind of thing. So who would I bring back, Brady? Do you want me to throw some names out there?
Shall I read the list for you? Because Justin, I appreciate you might not know all the loan players who are out. Because why would you? But Danny Grant, Josh Koroma, Kieran Phillips, Carl Hudlin, Matty Daly, Romani Edmonds-Green, Romney Critchlow, Ryan Schofield, and Scott High. Obviously, Keane Harrott was on loan but terminated, which we'll wait to see what happens with that. But that wasn't good. But Tom, I assume you're not going to pick Keane Harrott, but who are you going to pick?
Look, I've said it before. I really like Scott High. I've always thought he's pretty solid player. Even when he came on for us the last couple of seasons, I thought he's looked like he can do a job. He slots in fine. He holds the ball up really well. He doesn't look like the strongest player, but the way he kind of holds off players and stuff, a bit reminiscent. No one's going to be able to do it like Lewis O'Brien, but I think he kind of used to come on for us, didn't he, and almost try to replicate that job. So I'd be recalling Scott. Josh Osterfield's been doing all right at Harrogate recently. It'd be really interesting to see if he maybe continues that before January. I haven't seen Danny Grant. All right, I'm having a look now. 8 appearances, 2 assists, so no goals yet. Maybe he needs. I think he needs a season of like first team football, and recalling him, he's probably not gonna get in ahead of some of the other lads. But we are really lacking up top, and that's questioning it. It's like Phillips as well. I don't know how Phillips is doing, Brady. Do you know how he's doing?
I don't. I think he scored a couple, but again, I feel like the only thing is we're talking about players who are playing League 1, League 2 levels, so it's a lot to ask for him to come in. He's in League 1 this season for Morecambe. He's played 12 and he's got 4 goals and then an assist. Whether that can translate to 2 leagues up is another question.
I mean, there was someone who had started very well who he's kind of thought that was the end of his time at Town, and that's Josh Koroma, isn't it? I'm guessing that because it's the type of player that he is and the age that he is, that there's probably not a recall in that loan deal. I don't. Do you know what I mean?
Not too sure.
I just have a feeling that there wouldn't be potentially, and that's kind of why he's gone anyway. But I do think it was a strange one sending him out because he's in the last year of his contract as well. Kind of like you've just given up on him, and he's gone to Portsmouth and actually had a really good start there. So is it worth maybe recalling him? Because I mean, when managers change, you could completely kind of revitalise your career at a club, can't it? So
yeah, I think for me, the 3 that spring to mind, Scott High. I looked. He's had 11 games at Rotherham. He's not started any. So I think the fact that we are lacking him in field, I think even if he's just for a bench option, I think we need that. Edmonds Green is, is on loan at Wigan. And given the injuries to Turton and Nakayama, and Leesy's out with COVID, I think that makes sense, doesn't it? And yeah, Kuroma, I think why not? I swear, I think you're right. If you're loaning someone out and they've only got a year left on the contract, maybe you think that's it. But we did see under Carlos that first season that he can score that goal from nothing. And particularly, I think of that game last season against Blackpool, the 3-0 win away. And he scores that goal from 25 yards out that I don't think anyone in this squad can do. And, you're right, Tom. Maybe a lot of us thought maybe his town career is over, but it's a new boss. Why not? I think it's maybe worth the risk. Do they get us out of the scrap? I don't think so, but we just need bodies, But it'd be good to have bodies and then add on top of that. Justin, I realise we're putting you on the spot here, but I'm imagining you may agree with some of our choices, or do you not think any would help?
Well, yeah, Edmonds Green makes sense. Obviously, Nakayama being injured, he's a left-sided defender or a left-footed defender. So bringing him back would make sense. I think Scott High went through the motions from feedback I saw on social last season. But again, if it adds an extra body into that midfield, then perhaps it makes sense. And obviously, Fotheringham he's a coach first and foremost, so he's going to try and improve players. So actually, he might be able to get something out of Josh Kuroma that other managers have failed to do. And if you need that spark, then why not? Then why not try? But I think the first thing that Huddersfield need to do is assess at the loan players that they've got at the moment, like Kane Hessler-Hayden and Luke Mbete, who aren't getting games, who aren't getting regular game time, who probably need to go back to their parent clubs, and Huddersfield needs to fill those slots with more quality, essentially.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And we did see Kessler-Hayden come on for the second half, and David, we had on last week, made the good point. If we are going to get these turn them back and get some new loan players, we've got to be playing these guys, because bombing out your loan players, it's not really attractive to a Premier League club if you're like, let's get some young lads to rescue our season. But yeah, no, we'll see. It's going to be an interesting couple of months, I think. And then the final question this week, which was a bit of a joke when it was from Guy Bradley, he said, would Will Boyle head away? And he head this way and attached a picture of an asteroid. But I'm not going to ask you about that. What I am going to ask you is, Tom, Will Boyle, Town fans were mocking him. He started the last 2 games, and I think he's been pretty good. Do you agree?
I do agree. I do think they were right to mock him, because it was just that introduction where he came on. Where was it, against Stoke, his first appearance, and he come on for 5 minutes and he fell over his own feet. He literally looked like someone who'd won a competition for 5 minutes. But I think maybe it was just a bit of nerves. It's a massive step up, really, coming from Cheltenham to be back to, because there's kind of pressure on him coming from our academy, captain in Cheltenham, having a really good couple of seasons there. And I think maybe it got in his own head, people kind of bigging him up a lot about thinking, oh, here we go, we've got a really good leader here coming in. And he probably just had a few nerves in those first few games, but he's proper turned it around, and it's great to see, because he's a academy lad, and you can tell he just loves getting stuck in, doesn't he, and putting his body on the line. Some of those blocks, well, not just from him, but he was quite key against QPR. But that's what I love to see. There's so much. I think one thing maybe he's bringing to the squad, and Fotheringham has said it in his presses, is that he's on the training pitch. He's really great, and which I thought was quite surprising, because I feel like you've got to have quite a good mentality to take such a step up. I mean, I know Cheltenham got promoted, but he realistically was making a 2-tier leap, and he's coming into a squad with some reasonably established Championship players and helping them out. Do you know what I mean? So I think fair play to him. Well done, Will. Keep it up.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. The slipping, I mean, you're just going to laugh at that. If any player slips, it's funny. Yes, I am 28 years old, and that will always amuse me to the end of time. He also famously came on for the last 5 minutes and went for the back of Carlin Grant, and how the referee didn't give a penalty, I'll never know, because I was at the other end of the ground and that was such a blatant penalty. But yeah, no, he's been good. I think, I think this is it. He was replacing Naby Sarr, who I know obviously was very well liked, but it was a good, he is essentially, if Lees comes back in, he is a backup. And I think it's good to have that type of character, as you mentioned, as a backup, that experience on the young lads. And Justin, I know you might not be well versed in Will Boyle's career, but, Town, make no bones about it, are in a bit of a relegation scrap. So I suppose it helps to have a defender who's going to head and kick things away and, to use a classic phrase, keep it simple.
Yeah, he's a defender, first and foremost. Defender of the highest sort of regard, head and kick it. And that's what you need in this situation. As I say, his last two performances against Blackburn and obviously QPR were top notch. Has headed everything, blocked, got his body in the line. A lot of good players have made good careers out of doing that in the Championship. And I think it goes a long way if you can do that, if you're capable of doing that, and if you show the commitment of doing that, you will have a good career. And I think defending, and it's a very Sam Allardyce thing to say, defending is very simple. And if you do it properly and don't overcomplicate it, you'll be a good defender. And I think that's Will Boyle in a nutshell. And obviously, if you're playing for Cheltenham under someone like Michael Duff, who was a defensive-minded coach, very direct, you are going to bring elements of that. And I think the worst thing you could have done with Will Boyle was try and make him do something different. But it feels like Fotheringham knows him well, knows what his strengths are, and he's playing to them. Yeah,
and I don't care. Like I'm someone who loves nice football. Who doesn't like nice attacking football? But let's all be honest. We love a defender who's going to absolutely smash it clear for your team, put his head in anywhere, and just be a bit cheeky, maybe foul someone when they shouldn't, and push over. You can't beat it. I don't care what team you support. Everyone loves a bit of that. Anyway, we'll move on because it's time for You're the Boss. So, Justin, I think I asked you at the start of the season, but we'll ask you now. It's getting colder. Are you going to change your managerial get up at all? Are you going to do a Scott Parker Pearson G-leg, or a Scott Parker cardigan with the 4 stripes?
I will never, ever wear a cardigan. Scott Parker was wearing it during the heatwave, wasn't he? Which was absolutely ridiculous. So I think if a gilet is very versatile. So I think a gilet is a good thing to bring in, especially as you get colder. And I don't think it's been that cold. So actually a gilet might be a really good idea. So that's a good point to make. Yeah, I think I might introduce a gilet into the managerial wardrobe.
Nice. Are you going to get yourself your JP sewn on? Or?
Yeah, fully committed JP, established 1994.
JP the brand. Nice. There you go. Okay, so how Town lined up in the previous game, it was a 4-3-3. So we had Nichols, back 4 of Spencer, Hellick, Boyle and Ruffels. And then you had a 3 of Diarra, Redoni and Holmes, followed by the 3 up front of Thomas, Ward and Jackson. Tom, what changes would you make? Would you make any changes?
It's a very good question because obviously with what we've got,
Kasumi will be back for this.
Yeah, so Kasumu's in, isn't he? I quite like the 4 at the back, but but when you're at home, do you then go with the 3 and 2 wing backs? Who knows, Brady, what he's going to do. Let's say he sticks with this formation. Probably Kasumu slots in that middle where Rudoni kind of was. And then I'd put Rudoni maybe where Diarra was, put Diarra on the bench. Holmes on the left. And then Thomas, Ward. And does Jackson get in there again? Probably. I really think Ben Jackson has kind of fought his way into the team now. I think he's put a marker down, hasn't he? So I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't change that much, because I know they had a lot of shots the other night. But when you're limiting a team to just kind of potluck shots outside the box, because that seemed like what it mostly was. There was a few really good blocks in there in the box and things, but what Nichols made about four or five saves, didn't he? I think you're laughing, really, to be honest. I'd take 36 shots from outside the box all day long.
Yeah. I think for me, changes. This is no, Brody Spencer's a young lad right back, but I think he did struggle. So I'd probably give Kessler Hayden a game at right back, just because I think, like we say, if we want more loan players, probably got to start playing the ones we currently got. I'd probably, Kasuma comes back in for me. We don't know team news on Kamara yet, but maybe just let him rest this, because, given the state we're in, he has been very crucial to us. So it'd be silly to risk him for this one if he's not going for it. And then, I think that's it, really. I think you're right. Looking at that bench from yesterday, there's not a lot that jumps out. You could maybe swap Rhodes for Ward, but I think that's it. But I'd probably just bring in Kessler Hayden and Kasuma. Really, I think Ruffels. Hopefully, he can carry on and be prime Haaland. That would be great. But
what if Ruffels? Because I think has he arrived now finally? Maybe, because I think that's one thing. I maybe didn't expect him to be a brilliant defender coming from Oxford, but all I got from Oxford when he was there was that he's going to pop up with a few goals from set pieces, and he did exactly that, didn't he? On Tuesday, and imagine if he goes on a nice little run now.
Yeah, well, we need it. I mean, to be fair, like when we signed him, we said this at the time, but he's behind Terry Toffolo, who, I know we're biased, but he was one of the best fullbacks in the league. So he was, he was unlucky, and I think that's kind of stunted his Town career. So hopefully this is a chance for him to kick on. Justin, sorry, we've done a lot of talking about the players. Would you change anything?
Perhaps maybe match Swansea up at risk of overcomplicating it. Maybe going full Pep Guardiola with it. But I would possibly match Swansea and then just leave it down to individual battles. I think you're right about bringing Kane Hayden in. I think obviously if Spencer struggled against QPR, then it makes sense. It's just where you put personnel. And obviously if you're light in midfield, for example, a midfield of Dwayne Holmes and Jack Rodoni, and whether that be Diarra or Kasumi, looks quite lightweight potentially. And obviously, as I've mentioned already, that midfield battle is going to be key. So you need legs in there. You're going to need legs in there. So I think possibly bringing Kasumi back in might utilise that a little bit. I might disagree with Kamara, even if he's 50, 60% fit. I'd maybe get 45 minutes out of him, just because he's so key into that midfield, especially winning the ball back and turning possession over. So I'd perhaps bring him in because he's got a month to rest. Perhaps it's naive of me to bring that in, but Huddersfield need points. So I think putting your best players out, especially on the eve of a very long break, might be the right thing to do for Fotheringham. So I wouldn't change too much, but perhaps match Swansea up with a 3-5-2 or maybe a 3-5-1-1 potentially.
Nice. Those tactics are going to be what earns you your JP. So strap on your G-lay. So well done. Okay then, Tom. Score prediction time. What are you going for?
2-1 Town.
Nice.
Rudoni and Hellick goals.
Nice. Be good if Rodoni scored. I think he's deserved it after playing here, there, and everywhere this season. I think we're going to squeak a 1-0 personally. Again, it's the hope that kills you, but back-to-back wins. Everyone's going into the World Cup feeling a bit more positive. So make it happen, Town. Justin, go on then. Put us out of our misery. Yeah,
it depends what you want me to say. If you want me to say Swansea will win, then Huddersfield might just do it. But unfortunately, my gut feeling is telling me that Huddersfield will bag a 2-1 win. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because usually the opposite happens, especially in times like this. But I fancy a Will Boyle goal from a set piece, and I fancy Jack Rodoni to score as well, because he's been so close on so many occasions. He's due a goal. I would say a 2-1 win to Huddersfield. I'm a little bit confident with it, so perhaps naive. So I'll give you two answers there. Swansea to batter Huddersfield, just for the sake of jinxing it. But actually, gut feeling telling me a Huddersfield 2-1 win.
And if we don't get the result you want, it is at JustinPeach27 on Twitter. Okay, Tom, before we go, who could save Justin from Twitter trolls, hey? There's only one person, right?
Yeah, it's the amazing elbow.
I think the fans can probably see I was trying my best, working hard.
The amazing elbow.
As a centre forward, the last thing you want is a goal drought starting off at a club. Started on my own up front, and the really good centre forwards like Jordan were rested.
Take it away.
So where did we find him last? He's not really appeared for the last few panels, but Warnock's on the pitch. Groundsman weren't happy. Turned out to be Kevin Muscat in disguise. Warnock blows a whistle, which summons a little Paddy Kenny, who fires into Muscat and headbutts him. This results in Kevin Muscat's head exploding, and thousands of little Alex Pritchards disperse out of his head. So that's what you voted for this week. Thousands of Alex Pritchards flying all over the ground. This causes chaos around the Sir John Smith Stadium, and he starts running amok and pretty much destroying the place. So the amazing elbow, he thinks, oh no, there's only one way to save the stadium, and that is ... There we go. Brady, do you want to go first this week?
Yep, sure, why not? I mean, what stops an Alex Pritchard from performing at his best? It's giving them a Huddersfield Town contract. So that's my answer for this week.
That's awkward because that is exactly what I've written down as well.
It is a tap-in as options go, to be fair.
So Justin, I'll let you go whilst I think of another one.
Yeah, I had two choices for this. It was either a new deal or the physio room. What did Alex Pritchard like the most? It's a physio table. So what do you put on there? You put on, I don't know, lots of honey, sweet things, attract all the little Alex Pritchards to the physio room. You never get him out.
That's good. I like that. Right, what can I put here? Do you know what? Right, Amazing Elbow looks down the tunnel and he goes, "Release the hogs," and like 5 rabid Jonathan Hogg creatures come chasing off after and start eating up all these Alex Pritchards. Because I just remember how scared Alex Pritchard used to look in all those videos with Hoggy, like when we were in the Prem. So yeah.
Oh yeah, there's that one where Pritchard flicks his ears and Hogg goes, "If you do that again, I'll bang you out." And then he immediately stops.
So yeah,
Okay.
Release the hogs. There we go.
Nice. My only boring anecdote is I once saw Alex Pritchard when he was playing for Town. I was walking into a bathroom and he was coming out, and he is a small guy. That's all I can say. It was like a double take. So.
Brady, clip that and use it as a thing for the social media. That'll really get some retweets in.
Oh, I don't want Sunderland fans going, "Oh, cry more," you know. We talked about this, but yeah, I'm gutted that didn't work out because I remember saying at the time I thought that would be mint. Anyway, so your 3 options.
Come on. He scored a couple of goals in that Premier League season we stayed up, and you've got to give him a little like cheers for that, haven't you? You
have. Okay, very, very nice of you, Tom. Very balanced. Okay, so your 3 options this week on the Amazing Elbow are stop the Pritchards. You offer them either a Huddersfield Town contract, a trip to the physio room, or there was a shout to release the hogs. I wonder which one's going to win. I think everyone would love to see Tom draw several Jonathan Hogg creatures, I imagine. I
quite like the loads of little Pritchards getting trapped in a honey thing though. That's pretty cool. Like a honey trap physio table. Yeah.
And we'll leave it there. So, Tom, this is the last one before the World Cup. Is there anything you want to say to the fans?
Thank God for that. That's what I say. I can't wait to have a little break and just like forget about town for a couple of weeks.
Justin, do you want to say? Nice one, Justin. Do you want to say anything to the Town fans before we end it?
You've got a month off. Enjoy it.
Very true, very true. And I tell you what, guys, if you have got a month off and you want to enjoy it, our little sponsor will probably help you with that. Yeah, Magic Rock Brewing. Get the beers in. The World Cup is coming. So 10% off all online orders with the code AHTTC10. So get it used, get the beers in, and put your feet up, and we can come back and talk about all the defeats when the season resumes. So that was it. Thanks to Tom and Justin. Thanks to you all for listening. And ta-ta for now, and up the Town.
So Town, play up, bring the cup back to Huddersfield.